Poor Maid stole Millionaire's Ferrari to save her sick son. The heartwarming outcome changed everything. Linda's heart was heavy as she wiped down the gleaming surfaces of Mr. Thompson's mansion. She felt the weight of the world on her shoulders, especially since her 8-year-old son, Timmy, was fighting a battle no child should ever have to face. The laughter he brought into her life was a bright light against the backdrop of her struggles: endless medical bills, suppliers who needed payment, and her persistent concern about Timmy's health. Each day, she dusted the luxurious decor, feeling lost in a world of opulence that seemed to mock her every moment. On a stormy evening thick with despair, the phone call from the hospital shattered her fragile calm. Timmy's condition had worsened, and they were running out of options. Tears streamed down her face, the ache in her chest unbearable. What could she do? The stress and fear gnawed at her, leaving her gasping for air as she glanced out the window. The red Ferrari in the rain-soaked driveway glistened like a beacon of hope and desperation. It hit her like a lightning bolt. Could that car's symbol of everything she didn't have be the answer? Before she could change her mind, she made the reckless decision. The thrum of adrenaline pulsated through her as she sped off into the night. The weight of her actions hung like a heavy fog around her. Was she a criminal, or was she a mother desperate for a miracle? Whispered conversations in the coffee shop caught her attention. People were split, calling her a thief or a fierce mother. Her heart raced as she thought of Timmy, his sweet smile illuminating her dark world. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the rain dripped down the windshield, Linda felt the tension rise. She battled the thoughts racing in her mind, wrestling with guilt and fear. A familiar name caught her ear. Mr. Thompson was offering a reward for his stolen vehicle. Her heart fluttered with a glimmer of hope that this money could change everything. She already felt like she was in too deep, and turning herself in now seemed like an impossible choice. However, before she could make a decision, fate intervened. Mr. Thompson found her parked in a shadowy alley, the engine still running. Instead of rage, his eyes revealed a recognition of desperation. Their worlds collided as Linda poured out her heart, recounting Timmy's struggle, her fears, and the unconditional love that drove her to this point. In that electric moment, Mr. Thompson saw not a thief but a mother fighting for her son, a realization that unsettled the way he viewed the world. The air was thick with unspoken emotions, both transformed by this encounter. Outside, a small crowd began to gather, murmuring among themselves, balancing outrage and empathy. As they faced each other, one question loomed large: could compassion bridge the divide between their starkly different worlds? The silence that enveloped them was charged with tension. Linda's heart raced as she studied Mr. Thompson's face. There was a softness in his expression she hadn't expected. It was as if her pain had reached through the veneer of wealth and privilege, stirring a sense of empathy that was foreign to him, but somehow awakening a protective instinct. "Let me help you," he said, his tone surprisingly gentle. The words floated between them, like a lifebelt in a stormy sea. Linda blinked, struggling to comprehend. Help? How could he possibly understand the desperate lengths she had gone to? "You don't have to give the car back," he continued, a flicker of determination in his eyes. "I can cover Timmy's medical bills." "No." Linda shook her head fiercely, her voice rising. "I can't just take charity. You don't understand, this is my fault." The crowd leaned in closer, whispers growing louder as they witnessed the unfolding drama. Mr. Thompson stepped forward, concern etched on his face. "No one is saying it's your fault. You only acted out of love. Just let me help." His offer hung there, heavy with implications. Linda's mind raced back to the nights she spent in Timmy's hospital room, cradling him while the beeping machines monitored his fragile existence. The thought of him suffering, of being unable to provide the care he so desperately needed, made her stomach churn. "What will people think?" she asked, her voice trembling. Would they ever see her as anything but a thief? Would her son's name be forever tainted by scandal? Mr. Thompson took a deep breath, searching for the right words. "They may judge you now. But they'll also see the truth, the love of a mother, willing to fight for her child. That kind of strength is what matters." Just then, a woman from the crowd stepped forward, tears in her eyes. "I know what it's like to feel powerless. My son went through something similar. You're so brave for doing what you did," she said sincerely. Others murmured their support, echoing her sentiment. Linda felt a crack in her heart begin to mend. This was not just about her anymore, it was about lifting each other up in the hardest of times. The anger that initially surged in her heart was replaced by a flicker of hope. But relief was a fleeting emotion, and reality reminded her of its bitter grip. "So, what now?" she whispered, more to herself than anyone else. "How about we go to the hospital together?" Mr. Thompson suggested, extending a hand. "We can speak with the doctors. This fight doesn't have to be faced alone." Her heart leaped at the invitation. Was it possible he truly meant it? Could someone like him really step into her chaotic life? As she glanced at the crowd, a mix of curious faces, sympathetic expressions, and even a few nods of approval, Linda felt a swell of confusion, hope, and fear. Would they all embrace a partnership built on healing, or would the world shatter the fragile bond they had just formed? With a deep breath, she took a step forward, her hand reaching for Mr. Thompson's. But in that moment of connection, the engine of the Ferrari roared to life behind them, a reminder that the past couldn't be so easily left behind. "Let us go," she said, determination sparking in her chest. But as they moved to leave, a siren echoed in the distance, chilling the air around them. What awaited them at the hospital and beyond was still uncertain. But one thing was clear, this moment was just the beginning. Could Linda face the consequences of her actions while keeping Timmy's health at the forefront of her mind? The hospital loomed ahead like a fortress, its sterile walls a stark contrast to the storm of emotions swirling inside Linda. With every step, anxiety coiled tighter around her heart. Mr. Thompson walked beside her, the weight of his presence both comforting and unnerving. As they entered the hospital, the familiar smell of antiseptic hit her, sharp and overwhelming. It brought back memories of long nights spent waiting for news, of quiet battles fought within those walls. She paused for a moment, her breath hitching, feeling the panic rise again. What if things didn't turn out well for Timmy? What if she made the wrong choice in trusting Mr. Thompson? "Are you okay?" he asked, concern etched in his features. Linda nodded, though it was a lie. I want him to be okay." Her voice cracked, and tears threatened to spill. He took her hand, his grip steadying her. "Let us focus on him right now. We'll get through this together." The elevator ride felt endless, each ding of the buttons climbing higher as her heart sank lower. The fluorescent lights buzzed unbearably, and she stared at the floor, lost in her own thoughts. Could she accept help from someone like Mr. Thompson when her instincts screamed to do it on her own? Finally, the doors opened. They stepped out into the pediatric ward, and the atmosphere shifted. Children laughed and played, mothers held crayon drawings, but Linda felt the weight of her own reality pressing against her chest. Timmy's room was down at the end of the hall, waiting like a ticking clock. As they approached, Linda caught sight of the doctor speaking quietly with a nurse just outside Timmy's room. Her heart raced. The last time she had seen him was when she had stolen the car to get him to that very hospital. Would they still look upon her with kindness or condemnation? "Linda?" Mr. Thompson's voice broke through. "We should go in." "Yes," she whispered, steeling herself. When they stepped inside, she saw him there, her brave little boy, hooked up to monitors that beeped regularly. He lay still, his small chest rising and falling. The sight twisted knots of grief and love deep inside her. "Hey, buddy," she managed, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Slowly, she sat on the edge of his bed, reaching to brush his hair gently with her fingers. That familiar feeling of helplessness washed over her. Mr. Thompson stood in the doorway, watching them with an understanding that transcended the usual distance. "I'll give you some time," he said quietly, slipping back out into the hallway. As the door clicked shut, Linda felt the surge of motherhood wash over her. She leaned down, resting her forehead against Timmy's. "I'm sorry, sweetheart. I'm trying so hard," she breathed, warmth spilling from her eyes. In that moment, she was lost in fears of how the world would judge her. But all she wanted was for him to recover, to see him smile again without the weight of illness clouding his bright spirit. Minutes passed, and just as doubt began to creep back in, she heard a soft murmur. "Mom?" Timmy's voice was weak but clear, pulling her from her spiral. Her heart jolted. "Timmy. You're awake." He blinked slowly, eyes adjusting to the light. "What happened?" Without knowing why, tears streamed down her cheeks. "I'll explain everything, I promise. But right now, I just want you to rest." In that fragile moment, the doors of hope opened wide. She knew the journey wouldn't be easy, and the fallout of her actions lingered like shadows outside the hospital. But this? This was the reason worth fighting for. Just then, the door burst open. A tall figure stepped in, and she recognized the head of the hospital as he exchanged glances with Mr. Thompson, who had returned behind him. "Linda, there's something we need to discuss," the doctor said, serious and concerned. The air grew thick with urgency. What could they possibly want? She sensed her heart pounding in her ears. The impending conversation was a cliff's edge, one she wasn't sure she was ready to step off. Would this mark another twist in her desperate search for redemption? What was waiting beyond that door? Linda's breath caught in her throat. The room felt suffocating, the light dimming like a curtain falling on a stage. The doctor's presence seemed to amplify the unease swirling around her. She locked eyes with him, searching for answers before he even spoke. "How is he?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. The doctor's expression softened. "He is stable, but we need to talk about the next steps." A knot twisted in her stomach. "What do you mean?" He took a breath, glancing at Mr. Thompson before returning his gaze to her. "Timmy's condition requires a serious intervention. He's responding to treatment well, but we still have a long way to go." Linda felt the weight of every word. "But he's going to be okay, right? You can fix this?" Linda, his voice was placating, which only fanned the flames of her anxiety. "We have the means to assist him, but what?" She interrupted, fear rising in her throat. "Just tell me." "He needs a specialized treatment not covered by insurance," the doctor said. "I understand this is difficult to hear, but it will involve significant costs." "Significant?" she echoed, her mind racing. Memories of overdue bills, empty cupboards, and long drawn-out nights came flooding back. The unnecessary pain she had inflicted on herself and her son spun in her head, mixing with her desperation. "How much?" The doctor looked down, tracing a finger along the corner of the clipboard he was holding. "Around $50,000. I know it's a large sum, but your son's well-being is paramount." Every word hit Linda like a punch. How could she possibly find that kind of money? The walls of her world began closing in. "Linda," Mr. Thompson stepped forward, his tone steady. "I can help you." His words hung in the air, heavy and bittersweet. "You?" She tried to read his expression, fighting against suspicion tangled with hope. "Why would you do that?" He looked at her earnestly, his eyes firm. "Because I believe in you, and I believe in Timmy." I know this isn't how you plan to ask for help, but it's important to survive and rebuild. Sometimes we need to lean on others. The tension in the room grew palpable. Linda felt a rush of conflicting emotions. She wanted to scream no, to drive him away, to protect the little pride she had left, but the thought of Timmy in pain shattered her resolve. What if it causes more problems? She stammered, glancing at Timmy, who looked so small and fragile in that hospital bed. Linda, Mr. Thompson's voice dropped to a whisper, you have to think about your son. You don't have to fight this battle alone. Please, let me help you. The weight of indecision hung heavy in the air, each second stretching into eternity. Residents passed by the room, absorbed in their tasks, unaware of the momentous shift taking place in this tiny corner of the world. Linda could feel hope and fear battling inside her, battling against years of pride and stubbornness. What did it mean to ask for help? Just as she was about to respond, a soft voice broke the silence. Mom? Timmy croaked again, his eyes sleepily searching for her face. Her heart cracked open wider. I'm here, sweetie. I don't want you to cry. I want to get better. In that instant, everything changed. She couldn't let him see her fear, not now when he needed her courage most. The choice crystallized before her. She realized that asking for help didn't mean she was weak, it meant fighting for Timmy with every ounce of strength she had left. Taking a deep breath, she turned back to Mr. Thompson. Okay, I'm going to trust you. The relief on his face was palpable, but before it could settle, the door swung open again. A nurse walked in briskly, her clipboard held tightly against her side. Dr. Hughes, we need you in the conference room, she said with urgency, her face taut. The doctor nodded, then paused to meet Linda's gaze one last time. I'll be right back. We'll figure this out. As he left, Linda felt a flicker of hope igniting within her, a tenuous flame. But what if trusting Mr. Thompson was just the start? What if everything was about to change again in ways she wasn't prepared for? Linda sat on the edge of Timmy's hospital bed, her fingers gently stroking his hair. The rhythmic beeping of machines faded into the background as she tried to grasp the gravity of the moment. She had made a choice, one that felt both liberating and terrifying, but any hesitation she harbored was shattered the moment Timmy looked up at her with those wide, trusting eyes. Mom, I'm tired, he whispered. She felt a fresh wave of emotion swell within her. I know, honey. You just need to rest. Everything's going to be alright. We're going to fight this together. Timmy's eyelids fluttered, and she could see the burden he bore was too heavy for such small shoulders. She wanted to shield him from pain, to wrap him in a cocoon of safety, but she knew the only way forward was through this fragile moment. She leaned closer, brushing her lips against his forehead. A few minutes later, her phone buzzed, shaking her from her worries. It was a message from Mr. Thompson, a simple text reading, I'm looking into a financial plan that might work for you. Please hold on. She stared at the screen. Had trusting him been the right decision? Would accepting his help come with strings attached? The thoughts swirled like a storm inside her heart. It felt foreign to lean on someone else, but deep down, she knew pride couldn't save Timmy. The door creaked open, and a new face emerged. Dr. Hughes, back from the conference. There were lines of concern etched into his forehead. Linda felt her pulse quicken as he adjusted his glasses. Linda, I have some updates, he said, his tone serious yet gentle. We are hoping to start Timmy's treatment soon. You've agreed to the financial arrangement? She nodded slowly, still feeling the ache of disbelief. I trust Mr. Thompson. The doctor motioned for her to follow him outside. They stepped into the hallway, which felt vast and lonely compared to the room she had just left. I need you to understand, this kind of treatment, it's not a guarantee, he said carefully. But it's a chance. I'll do anything for him, she declared, her voice steady. I just want my baby to get better. Dr. Hughes nodded, appreciation flickering in his eyes. That kind of determination is what Timmy needs. We'll give him the best care possible. As she returned to Timmy's room, the air felt different, charged. The flickers of hope that had ignited within her were now dancing, illuminating the edges of her uncertainty. But would it be enough? She sat by his side again, clasping his small hand in hers. We're going to fight this, Timmy. You and me. You hear? He nodded lightly, each movement seemingly costlier than the last. Mom, I believe in you. His words echoed softly, a gentle reminder that she needed to believe too. She couldn't shy away from this moment, couldn't let fear win. But as time ticked away, dark clouds crept back into her mind. What if Mr. Thompson's offer came with complications she hadn't foreseen? What if trusting him placed them in deeper trouble instead of rescuing them? The door swung open, and in entered Mr. Thompson, sporting a weary smile. I've spoken to some colleagues. I think we might be able to arrange things so you won't have to worry anymore. Before she could respond, a shrill alarm sounded in the room, causing her heart to leap into her throat. Timmy sat up slightly, panic flashing in his eyes. Mom, what is going on? Her own panic was rising along with the alarm. I don't know, baby, but I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere. As the nurse rushed in, Linda felt her heart racing. Timmy's fragile state, the mystery surrounding Mr. Thompson's intentions, and that nagging question of whether they were heading toward salvation or disaster all collided in that single moment. This was just the beginning, but would it lead to hope or despair? Linda's breath caught in her throat as the nurse swiftly moved toward the machines, her fingers flying over the buttons with practiced ease. Timmy's eyes widened, fear dancing across his face. The alarm blared incessantly, filling the small room with a terrifying urgency. Mom! He cried, gripping her hand tighter. It felt like a lifeline amidst the chaos. Just breathe, Timmy. Just breathe, Linda whispered, forcing herself to stay calm. She could feel her heart pounding in her chest, echoing the frantic beeping. The nurse's movements were a blur, but she caught just a glimpse of the monitor, Timmy's heart rate spiking. It sent shivers down her spine. Stay with me, buddy, she said, squeezing his hand, desperate to convey strength even as she shook inside. The eyes of the bustling medical staff flitted in and out of focus as her mind raced. They were doctors, trained to handle these moments, but to her, it felt like everything was spiraling out of control. Mom, I'm scared. Timmy's voice was soft, but the tremors were unmistakable. I know, sweetheart, and it's okay to be scared. I'm here. I promise. She willed every ounce of love she had to flow from her heart to his, hoping it was enough. Just then, Dr. Hughes rushed in, a determined look on his face. Let us keep him calm, he commanded, his voice steady as he took control of the chaos. Linda, can you talk to him? Tell him about something fun. Linda's mind raced. What could she say? All she could think about was the uncertainty that loomed over them. But she thought of their last trip to the park, the sunshine, and the laughter that echoed through the air. Remember the last time we went to the park? She started, forcing a smile despite the tears threatening to spill. You climbed that big slide, and you were so brave. Remember how you yelled, "I'm the king of the world." When you reached the top. Timmy's eyes flickered, a glimmer of the boy she knew. Yeah, he whispered, though he still looked scared. Just like that day, you're brave, too. You'll be my brave little king, okay? And soon, we'll go back to the park. Just think of those swings, the ice cream, and the sunshine on your face. Dr. Hughes nodded, and the nurse continued to adjust Timmy's fore, murmuring words of reassurance. In that moment, Linda felt a shift. In between the frantic energy and fear, a thread of hope began to weave itself back into existence. The reassuring grip of the doctor, the steady hands of the nurse, it was a reminder that they were not alone. As the immediate danger passed and the alarms quieted to normal beeping, Linda let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. She leaned closer, tears spilling down her cheeks. See? You're going to be okay. We're in this together. Timmy gave her a small nod, each flicker of his eyelids a painful reminder of his struggle. But as the fear slowly ebbed, he managed a weak smile. I just want to go home. Soon, sweetheart. Soon, she promised, her heart swelling with a mix of fear and resolve. No matter the challenges that lay ahead, they would face them together. Just then, Mr. Thompson appeared again, this time with a more serious demeanor. I have some news, he said, glancing at the staff and then back to Linda. The room felt heavy with unspoken words. What is it? She asked, her voice steady but anxious. There are some others who are willing to help. But it's going to come with a price, something more than just financial. Linda's heart sank as she caught the weight of his gaze. What more would she have to sacrifice to save Timmy? Would knowing the truth set them free or bond them to the chaos they were trying to escape? Would it lead her to a greater anguish than what she was already enduring? In that moment, surrounded by the sterile scent of antiseptic and the hum of machines, she understood the fight was only just beginning. How much more could she bear for her son? But just as fear threatened to choke her, she felt Timmy's small hand grip her finger tighter. There was strength in their connection, a silent pact that whispered of hope, but the shadows of uncertainty loomed dangerously close. As Linda looked into her son's eyes, she knew she had to make choices, hard choices in the days to come. But would they be the right ones? Only time would tell. The quiet hum of the machines filled the room again, a somber soundtrack to the storm that raged in Linda's heart. Timmy's eyes fluttered, struggling to remain conscious, and she couldn't help but trace her thumb over the back of his hand, trying to find the right words amidst the torrent of questions flooding her mind. Mr. Thompson, she said, breathing deeply to steady her voice, what kind of help are we talking about? Each word felt heavy, laden with anxiety. She braced herself for the answer, knowing it could change everything. If you agree, we can connect you with a special program, he began, his voice a mixture of urgency and caution. They help families in crisis, but there's a catch. You'll have to give them your story, the whole truth. Your life could become public in ways you might not anticipate. The thought of their struggles laid bare for everyone to see sent chills down her spine. What would that mean for Timmy? For her? But then she thought of the bills, the treatments, and the future that seemed to slip further away with each moment. What do I have to do? She asked, her determination rising to the surface. You'd have to be open about your situation. Share not just the hardships but also the hope, the reasons you fight for him. It's a lot to ask, I know. His gaze was steady, but Linda could see the weight he carried too. She turned back to Timmy, his small body so fragile, and felt a swell of something fierce inside her. Love, desperation, and a flicker of hope collided in her heart. Would it help? She whispered to Timmy, who seemed to be fading. His eyes sparkled briefly, like he understood the stakes. Yeah, Mom, he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. If it helps, do it. That simple phrase ignited a fire within her. She knew she could bear the scrutiny of the world if it meant saving him. Okay, let us do it, she replied, her voice stronger. For you, Timmy. I'll do anything for you. Mr. Thompson nodded, a faint smile spreading across his face. I'll set everything in motion. We'll need the details by tomorrow. But first, let us make sure he is stable. Linda felt a rush of adrenaline. Regardless of the path ahead, she had been given a chance. A chance to fight back, to reclaim some control in a situation that had spiraled so far beyond her grasp. As the doctor and nurse moved with renewed purpose around them, she grabbed Timmy's little hand. You're going to be okay, buddy. We've got this together. Timmy nodded slowly, a fragile smile breaking through his fatigue. Promise? Promise. Linda could feel the dread give way to a flicker of belief. Just then, a loud crash echoed from the corridor, drawing the attention of the staff. They exchanged worried glances. Linda's pulse quickened with unease. She turned to the door, sensing something wasn't right. "What was that?" she asked, her heart racing again. "I'll check," the nurse said, hesitating only a moment before jogging toward the noise. Linda's mind raced. Could this day get any more unpredictable? She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of fear return, and squeezed Timmy's hand reassuringly. Whatever awaited them outside these hospital walls, they would face it head-on, like they always had, but as she waited, a flicker of something odd skittered through the shadows of her thoughts. Perhaps this chaos was the beginning of something bigger, something that would pull their lives from the brink. The uncertainties of what had yet to come danced at the edges of her mind. What if uncovering her story led to revelations she never anticipated? And would she have the strength to confront the past she'd tried so hard to bury? The moment seemed to stretch indefinitely as she looked into Timmy's tired eyes. Unbeknownst to her, the answers lay just beyond those sterile hospital walls, waiting to entwine their fates in ways she couldn't yet fathom. Would they be stronger together, or would the truth tear them apart? And who was that waiting just outside the door? The tension hung thick in the air, cradling a multitude of possibilities. Linda's heart raced, not just with fear, but with a mixture of trepidation and hope. The crash had felt like a prelude to something monumental. Timmy squeezed her hand tighter, sensing her tension. "Mom, what do you think it was?" he asked, his voice a delicate thread. "I don't know, buddy. Just, stay with me," she replied, trying to keep her own panic in check. The nurse still hadn't returned, and Linda felt the seconds stretch into an eternity. Suddenly, the door burst open. A man wearing a hospital security badge stood in the entrance, looking frantic. "We need everyone to stay calm. There's been an incident a few halls down," he said, his voice steady but tense. Linda's instincts kicked in. "Timmy, are you okay?" "Yeah, just tired," he replied, his eyelids drooping. "All right. Just focus on me, okay?" The security officer started to speak again, but Linda's focus shifted. She could see a commotion in the hallway behind him, a flurry of nurses and doctors moving purposefully. The atmosphere charged with urgency was intoxicating, both frightening and thrilling at once. Without fully realizing it, she found herself standing, releasing Timmy's hand just for a moment. "I need to know what's happening," she murmured, attempting to walk past the officer. "Ma'am, it's not safe," but she could hardly hear him. Her heart urged her forward. She weaved through the bustling staff, her eyes darting anxiously to catch any glimpse of what was unfolding. In the waiting area, she spotted a family huddled together, tears streaming down a mother's face as she clutched her child. The stark reality of their world weighed upon Linda, reminding her why she had decided to share their story. The urgency, the pain, the hope, it all resonated deeply within her. Then it hit her: did this incident involve someone like her? Another parent, another child in need? As she turned, she felt a presence beside her. A woman with striking blue eyes and worry etched across her face caught her attention. "I can't believe this is happening. My son was just taken into surgery." Linda felt an instant connection. "My son is in the same situation, he is fighting for his life in there," she whispered, the gravity of the moment weighing heavily on her shoulders. The woman grabbed Linda's hand, her own trembling with fear. "This place, it can feel so isolating, right?" And there it was, the unspoken bond forming between two families on the brink of despair. They were all connected in this battle against fate, against time, against the unrelenting forces that sought to pull them apart. Just then, the nurse made her way back to Linda. "The doctors are still working on things. Timmy is stable for now," she assured, although Linda could see the underlying worry in her eyes. A sense of relief washed over her, but only momentarily. "Can you tell me what happened?" "There was a crash." The nurse hesitated before they had her answer. "It's a long story. But they're doing everything they can. Just hold on to that." Linda nodded, wanting to believe, needing to believe. Yet, in the back of her mind, she could feel the weight of her decision growing heavier. The truth was lurking, ready to emerge and change everything for her and for Timmy. "Do you think sharing will help us?" Linda asked the woman beside her, almost lost in the chaos of her swirling thoughts. "Sometimes, sharing burdens lightens the load," the woman said, her voice softening, giving Linda strength. As Linda returned to Timmy's room, she felt different. Their story would soon be laid bare, but perhaps it was not merely about them anymore. She looked down at her son. Would it be worth the risk? The uncertainty? The answer, like a whisper in her heart, began to take shape. But then, just as Linda opened her mouth to reassure Timmy, another crash echoed down the hall, louder and more violent than before. The world around her shifted once more. What was happening? Was this chaos unearthing more than hastily hidden truths? Linda's heart pounded as she searched the hall and felt that whatever was coming next would challenge everything she believed. Would she be strong enough to face it all, or would it break them even more? The noise from the hallway jolted Linda from her thoughts. A wave of anxiety washed over her, tightening the knot in her stomach. Timmy's fingers trembled in her grasp as he looked up at her, a mix of confusion and fear in his eyes. "What was that, Mom?" he whispered, his voice barely breaking through the chaos. She felt the weight of his gaze settle on her, searching for comfort in her strength. "I don't know, sweetheart." "Just stay close," she replied, feeling her heart hammering against her ribs. She shifted her weight, straining to see beyond the security officer who was still trying to maintain order. The tightness in her chest grew heavier. There was something urgent and unforgiving about the sounds beyond those walls. It fueled a burning instinct in her, an instinct to protect her son, no matter what. "Let us go back to your room, Timmy. We should stay together." She leaned down, kissing his forehead gently. His warmth was a contrast to the cold dread pooling inside her. They maneuvered back through the waiting area, Linda glancing nervously at the huddled families, each caught in their own storm of worry. The shared pain was palpable, a heavy fog that cloaked the space. She took a deep breath, drawing strength from the collective heartache. When they reached the room, the familiar sterile smell mixed with the faint scent of antiseptic greeted her. It felt both comforting and frightening, the place that held hope and despair in equal measure. "Couldn't they try to fix things faster?" Timmy asked with innocent frustration, tugging her hand to bring her back to him. The raw emotion in his voice broke Linda's heart. "Sometimes, sweetie, the best things take time," she said, forcing a smile. How was she going to explain that waiting often felt like a battle, not just a pause? As she sat beside him, the weight of the earlier moment pressed down heavily on her. Before they could continue their small talk, another doctor burst through the door, his face drawn. "Mrs. Thompson?" He looked directly at her. Linda felt her breath catch. "Yes? What is it?" "There's been a complication. We need to discuss your son's situation." His voice remained professional, but the crease on his forehead unnerved her. "Complication? Is he?" The question hung in the air, thick and suffocating. Timmy's hand slipped from hers, finding the bed's edge. She could see fear flicker in his eyes, mirroring her own dread. "He's still stable, but we need to prepare you for possible outcomes," the doctor continued, maintaining his steady demeanor, although she could read the tension in the lines of his body. As he spoke, her mind raced back to that crash. What had caused so much upheaval? It was more than just an accident, it felt like a moment of reckoning, fate pushing at the seams of her carefully constructed world. "Mom?" Timmy's small voice broke through her thoughts again, pulling her back to the present. "What's happening?" "Nothing right now, buddy. Just talking," she lied, her skin prickling at the near truth. How could she assure him when her own heart felt like it was suffocating under the weight of worry? Just then, her phone buzzed in her pocket, a text. She pulled it out, and her breath caught in her throat. It was from the woman she had met earlier. "Meet me in the cafeteria." I have to tell you something important. She glanced at Timmy, torn between leaving and staying. What if this news could change everything? Stay right here, okay? I'll be back in a moment, she said, kissing his forehead again before she slipped out, her heart pounding with every step. What was the woman going to share? Did it have anything to do with the crash, with Timmy's fate? As she walked, questions swirled in her mind, each step echoing the uncertainty of the path ahead. The cafeteria was just ahead, but so many unknowns lay in her future. Could this be the turning point she had both prayed for and feared? Linda rushed through the corridors, her mind buzzing with anxiety and hope. What could this woman possibly want to share? As she pushed through the cafeteria doors, the clamor of voices and clinking of plates faded into the background. There she was, the woman from before, her blue eyes wide with urgency. "Thank you for coming," she said, glancing around as if to ensure their conversation was private. "I heard about the crash, it's serious." Linda's heart sank. "What do you mean?" "The patient involved, he's in the surgery. But I also heard rumors of more help becoming available for those in need." "Real help?" Linda's pulse quickened. "What kind of help?" "There are organizations ready to step in, people who want to share stories to raise awareness and aid. By sharing your truth, you could connect with others facing similar challenges. Not just for you, but for Timmy. They can mobilize resources." Every word seemed to echo, igniting something inside her. "But what if people judge us?" The fear of exposure clawed at her stomach. "There's always judgment. But sometimes, showing your vulnerability is what brings strength, not weakness. The reality of our circumstances often hides in the shadows. It's time to shine a light on it." Taking a deep breath, Linda felt the weight of uncertainty morph into determination. If Timmy's health was on the line, perhaps baring her soul could galvanize support beyond anything imaginable. "You're right," she said, her voice gaining strength. "For Timmy, I'd do anything." As she made her choice, her phone buzzed again. "Don't forget, time is limited. They need your story soon." Linda nodded, her resolve sharpening. She had to act quickly for her son, for herself, for every parent trapped in despair. The moment was now. With increased urgency, she turned to leave when Timmy's name echoed from her heart. "I need to get back to him," she said with resolve. "He's fighting so hard." "Go. I'll help coordinate everything from this end." Pooling her courage, Linda hurried back to Timmy, anxiety still swirling in her chest but hope glowing brighter. As she entered the room, she found Timmy still resting, though he looked a bit more alert, clutching a small stuffed bear she had brought earlier. "Hey, champ," she said with a forced cheerfulness, settling in beside him. "Did you find out what's wrong?" he asked with those bright eyes looking up at her, full of trust. "We're going to fight this together. I promise." Her heart ached with love and determination. It was time for her to become the hero in her son's story. "There might be help coming, but I need you to be brave for me now, okay?" He smiled weakly, that tiny spark igniting in him. "I'm brave, Mom. Like a superhero." "Exactly." She squeezed his hand, feeling hope surge as Mr. Thompson walked in, looking somber yet determined. "How are you both holding up?" "Okay, I guess," Timmy replied, his voice shaky but full of spirit. Linda looked at Mr. Thompson. "I heard there might be some help out there. We're ready to share our story, to get the support we need." Mr. Thompson's expression softened. "That's a brave decision. We'll stand with you, but more importantly, we'll ensure that Timmy gets the care he needs." "Thank you," she replied, feeling tears prick at her eyes. The wave of relief washing over her felt almost unbearable. Suddenly, the door burst open again, and the doctor entered, pinched with worry, but his tone shifted as he faced Linda. "I've got a moment, and I need to speak to you about a new treatment option." Linda's heart raced. What is it? Timmy is compatible for a trial program. I can't promise anything, but if he qualifies for this, it could bring him real hope. A surge of joy erupted inside her, and with Mr. Thompson and the doctor flanking her, the chaos and uncertainty seemed to bow to a newfound possibility. Yes. Yes, we want this. Great, Dr. Hughes said, his face lighting up. But we need your complete agreement, and I'll want to set up meetings with the trial coordinators immediately. Yes. Anything for my son, she said, clutching Timmy's hand tighter, a unity forged in love and resilience. You're going to be just fine, buddy. I'll fight for you every step of the way, she told him, teeming with hope. Timmy beamed, and in that moment, everything else faded: the fear, the uncertainty, the shadows that had held them captive for so long. They were warriors battling for a cause greater than themselves. As they began to navigate the logistics of the trial, Linda felt a renewed sense of purpose. They would face the world, hearts wide open, armed with their story, a story not just of hardship but of unwavering hope. With every moment they faced together, they were reminded that strength lay not in not falling, but in rising every time they did. And together, they would rise. Now, you know this story touches your heart. It's time to take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next inspiring stories that will fuel your spirit. Don't wait not even one more second. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep this heartfelt content alive. Comment below with your feelings about this amazing transformation and share your support for Linda and Timmy's journey. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to show your support now because only true fans understand how to build this community together.